All right, we're live. Hello and welcome to the eighth work of the CODERUNNER series, and I'm here with Emrah Uslu.
Hello everyone.
And we're gonna talk about programming to orchestrate Lambda functions. How we're gonna run them after each other, and how we're gonna run them parallel, etc. With the help of the step function service of the AWS. So let's start. First, let me change. Yeah. All right. Today's agenda. We're gonna take a look at how we turn our functions into full-fledged apps, and how we are coordinate our methods. There's a few of them, and we're gonna take a look at step functions and look at the task types of the step functions, and lastly we're gonna go ahead and make a demo. So today's topic is mainly on AWS Lambda. So we wrapped that up at a fourth board, actually. So if you're not familiar with the AWS Lambda, please check that out first. And because we're gonna heavily use this service in that demo.
Yeah, you can find that video in our YouTube,
YouTube
channel, and there is a playlist named CodeRunner, and you can find all the previous sessions in that playlist.
All right. And if you want to use the step function, or if you have these type of questions in your mind, you can definitely check the step function service. If you want to sequence your functions, if you want to run your functions in parallel, if you want to select functions, which function to run based on the incoming data, or if you want to retry the functions if there is any exception, etc. And if you have a code that runs for hours maybe. So this is definitely the right place for it. So how we coordinate our functions? As I said before, there are a couple of ways to run your code and have them run separately and consequently. One of them is the method call. You can always call your functions, other function from your main function maybe, and other function calls another function via method calls. This is definitely a method to run these processes within each other. This is definitely doable. And other one is function chaining. It's basically the same thing, but once the first function finishes its job, calls the second function. Second function finishes its job, and that one calls the third function, etc. And creates a chain. That's called function chaining. You can do that too if you want to. Or you can coordinate your functions via database. You can always have a maybe tasks table in your database, and each function looks for the related record for it, and if that pops up, it can definitely call itself and run its course and finishes. And every function of your process looks for that table or that database to do its job. That's doable too. or you can coordinate your functions via queues. You can always put an object or something in your queue, and other functions triggers by it and processes that object and be done with it, or passes the resulting object or resulting thing to another queue, and another queue triggers the other functions, etc. This is a some type of process management too. So, but there is another way. AWS provides us a service called step functions, and you can coordinate your functions to run with specific settings, and you can do branching, you can do start and stop the services, and that kind of stuff, and you can create a process within the step functions, and have the functions do exactly what they're supposed to do.
So does it create a workflow?
Yeah. This is exactly the
workflow,
workflow.
and it allows us to create this workflow visually.
Yeah, visually, I think not that visually. You have to actually write a JSON for it, and that visualizes in the console. You can see the resulting result in the left side, pardon me, right side. We're gonna show that too in our demo.
Great.
So you can have a look at that. This is the some other way to coordinate your workflow with the function calls.
So maybe you will tell us. But I have a question. Can I add any other AWS service other than the functions, Lambda functions, in that workflow?
I think you have to call functions. So this is the actually.
So
You can call any other type of resources within the function.
So it's possible.
That's doable.
Okay.
So you first define JSON that tells the step function service how it will create the workflow for it, and you can see the visualized workflow in console, and you can see the every execution and every step if it's failed or not in the monitor, and that JSON looks like this. There's a comment if you want to put, and you tell the you define the function that which one function starts first, and after that in that function you tell the type of this. It's maybe can be a task or can be a pass type of node, and you tell the resource name for it. You give it a function to call, and if you want to end that process there, you can call. You can tell this is the end in the end through step, and that pops up the start and end and the visualizing of the step functions. So this is the screen that if the step functions run and finishes, this tells us the this function called first, this function called the second, that function called the third function. There's a branching there. If they are order okay, the order okay function runs, and that process the order, and that workflow ends there. So it comes to an end. You can execute them once, or if you are want to run that a billion times, you can run it always. Actually, there's this thing called. Actually, these are stateless, so you can always run them separately or consequently. That's wraps up actually. Yeah, there is some state types. State, as we seen before, we use the task. Task is a single unit of work. You are calling a function within it, and that function results maybe passes the other function, and you can do these type of things. As we said before, there is a choice state. You can add branches into your logic. You look at the data within it and decide which course it will take after that. You can fork your data and maybe join them at the end of it and run the process parallel. Or if you want to delay your workflow, maybe a couple of seconds or maybe hours, you can always use the wait state, or you can always say that the workflow is succeeded or failed anywhere, anytime. You don't have to go to the end at all. You can always say, check that, maybe put a branch somewhere, check the data. If that's not valid, go ahead and say that's failed. And at last, there's a state type called pass. It's actually doesn't do anything. It's gets the input and passes that to output end of it. It's basically a proxy that you can think of it like that. So I think that was fast.
Yeah.
We are going to go ahead and do a demo.
Yeah. Before that, I want to add some use cases for step functions. For example, you can use it your data processing tasks. You may have some ETLs to populate data from somewhere to another place, and you can use step functions to complete consequent tasks. And one other, you can automate tasks, as you say. For example, you may have some automation scripts, deployment scripts, or upgrades, installations, etc. And you can configure step functions for these use cases. Or maybe you can modernize a monolith application, or you may have some application orchestration without thinking. Error handling, logic, the workflow logic, timeouts, retries. You don't have to think this kind of things using AWS step functions.
All right. Thanks for the use cases, and I think we're going to go ahead and do the demo now. So let's go ahead and switch the scene. Yeah. Now we're going to go ahead and create two functions, and after that we're going to create a step function and call these functions within it. and we're going to take the input of the input first in the first function, and at the result, the first function's result will be passed to the second function, and the second function will process that too, and spits out the resulting object to us. So that is the demo we're going to do today. First, we are going to create a new project, and our project type is going to be a AWS Lambda project. I'm going to call it CODERUNNER warp 8 dot maybe step functions. I'm going to name it that. Okay. I'm going to create a empty function that will give me a clean sheet to do my demo. I hope. Oh, okay. If I look at the functions class, yeah, there's the function called function handler. This is the default function when you create an empty function template. We're not gonna use that and create our own functions. Yeah, I always forget that. Yeah, I have your saying, okay. We're going to create a class for the input we're going to take. I'm going to call the class content, and we're going to create a property called value, and so we can actually get input from the function, and we're going to create a function called say hello. We're going to create two functions as I said before. First one will be the say hello, and other one will be asks us how we're today. So each other when they merge with each other, it will say to us hello, maybe Emrah, and how are you today? But we're going to only give the name to the functions. Name and the first function will call the second function in the step functions, and that output will be given to the input as a input to the other function. So let's create these functions. We're going to return the content to, so we're going to change the content within that function and return that content, and to because the other function will need the output too. So we're going to say hello, and we're going to have the input as a content type. I'm going to call it input lambda. Yeah, and that what was it called? I always forget. The IntelliSense doesn't work, so I'm going to shut the Visual Studio and reopen it again.
Does it work?
Yeah, it works. I think it's a problem with the Visual Studio 2017.
With the AWS SDK.
I think with the AWS SDK, or I think maybe it's general. I don't know. When I restore the packages, it suddenly works. maybe it's with the Visual Studio 2017's acting up. I hope we will see the Lambda context colorizes. Please. Let's build first. Yeah. Okay.
Restore the nice packages.
Yeah, it's restores now. And build failed because I didn't return anything. No. Oh, I love the context is lights up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hooray! And we can get the Lambda context here too. And let's first log the content. So we can always use the context to log our inputs, outputs, or the inner objects. I'm going to log line and say that log the input value. After that, I'm going to mutate, change the contents value. Let's say inputs value equals. I'm gonna use the new format function and say that hello input value. We think that the input value will be a name, maybe. And let's log the resulting input value too to see what it looks like. And lastly, let's return the input so that we can get it as a input in the other function. So, all right. Let's create the second function. We're going to return content to say how are you today. And call the function that, and we're going to give it the input to, and we're going to fetch the context here too. Let's do the same thing. Log it first, and after the change, log it again. Yeah. Let me copy that and paste it. The input will be hello space something dot. So I can do something like how are you today, and give the input value in the start of the string. So my functions is done. Let's publish these functions and see if these work or not. So my account profile is default. My region is US East Ohio, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say that it will be the same with the function's name within my function class. I hope it doesn't crash. Oh, it's crashed. Okay. Let's wait. Let's reopen the project. Yeah. I'll definitely return maybe the previous version or something else, because that is definitely not normal. So let's try to publish the Lambda functions again. As I said before, default account used, US East Ohio is the region. I'm gonna say, call my function, say hello, and I'm gonna publish the say hello method. Call next. I'll create a new role for it and give it a full access and hit upload. And hope this will work. We're going to do the exactly same thing for the other function too. So after these done, we're going to go to the console and create our step functions. It's restored packages. All right. Okay, our function is done. Let's go ahead and try it first. So we're going to give it an input. Maybe Emrah. Let's invoke it. Yeah, our function worked.
Hello.
Hello, Emrah. Let's go ahead and publish the second function.
Yeah, I want to say how are you? Where have you been?
This is the communication method that I use for every other person. I say.
From now on, I talk in functions.
Now you're thinking with functions. Say, how are you today? I'm gonna call the function name, say, how are you today? I'm gonna publish the how are you today method. So, let's go ahead and create another role for it and give it a full access. We're giving everything a full access in our demos. Because why not?
Mm-hmm.
Let's wait that this function to upload to. We're going to open up the Lambda and see the functions there too in the console. But let's first try this function too. As we seen before, our value will be hello Emrah dot. This will be the first function's result and the second function's input. Let's try that scenario. Yeah, as we see, hello Emrah, how are you today?
I'm fine. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, our functions is done. Let's go ahead and go to the Lambda service to see our functions there too. And I'm going to go to the services and call Lambda. Yeah, they are here. So, all right. And let's go to the main topic, step functions. We are going to hit the get started because we don't have any step functions now. Right now, we are going to call it say hello and say how are you today. Because we will put the two functions each other. And this is the definition section, and it will give us the default definition as this. There is actually one state, and its type is pass. You give it a maybe something input, some input, and it will spit the it as a output. So we're going to delete that and actually create our states here. First state is say hello, and we're going to start with the say hello state, because we're going to call the say hello function first. So our type is task, because we're going to call some function within it. And let me check the definition to show that too. We're going to give it a resource, and when we hit the code, it will give us the functions that I can call, and we're going to call the say hello function. But this will not be the end, because we have to call the other function to say how are you today. Because of that, we're going to delete the and add the next definition and say that the next call will be to say how are you today. But we didn't actually create that state for now. And let's go ahead and create that too. Say how are you today. This will be the state's name, and that state's name, state's type will be the task type. And I'm going to call the say how are you today function within that. And actually this will be the end. So I'm going to call that and true here. It basically says that start with the say hello state. Say hello state's type is task, and we give the say hello as a resource, say hello function as a resource to that state. Because of that, state will be calling to say hello function. And after that done, we're going to call the next state, say how are you today. That state is actually uses the say how are you today function within that. Its type is task2, and after the say how are you today state, there is nothing comes after that. Because of that, we attach the and true to that object. Let's go ahead and refresh the visualizing side of the thing, and as you see, we start with the say hello, and after that we call the say how are you today state, and after that it will end. After you check the everything is correct, let's create the state machine. Yeah, our state machine is successfully created, and we can execute this step function right here, and let's click the start execution. You can save that execution and its input, and call that execution whenever you want. And our input will be like this. Let's say hello to Emrah again. And execution name is optional. You don't have to give anything for it. and after the input is correct, let's start the execution. So, execution status is succeeded really fast, and we can see the states and the state of that state is how it is. Say hello function succeeds, and after that, say how are you today function is also succeeded, and we can see the input and output within the step details. So we give the say hello function input called value Emrah, and its output is actually hello Emrah. After that, say how are you today gets the input, the first function's output, hello Emrah, and after that the output is the hello Emrah, how are you today. So that wraps up the demo. Alright. And let's go ahead